Hello everyone. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about how you outline a paper or outline an essay. So this is more for those of you in the advanced units, so units 4 through 10. I think we'll find this the most useful, but you can totally um, work with this PowerPoint in order to make it work for whatever unit you are in. But again, this is mostly for folks who are in units like 4 through 10. So, what I want to say before we get started. So, I think outlining is really important. I'm going to talk about 3 different ways you can outline a paper, but I do believe outlining is very intuitive and personal to the writer. So, there's no one right way to outline a paper. You do what works for you. And it might be like a combination of some of the things I'll talk about in this lesson. The other thing I want to say is when you write your first drafts for NROC, they have those boxes that separate everything, which is kind of like an outline. But I do still recommend outlining your paper before you actually write it. Because an outline, you're not necessarily writing complete sentences. It's a little bit more like a bullet point type thing, where you're just kind of like jotting down ideas. Whereas when you are working in those boxes, you're actually writing your essay in complete sentences, but it's like separated. Okay, so I do think it's really important for you to just sketch out an outline on a piece of paper with a pencil or a pen before you actually get started writing your essays. Like, this will help so much with organization. Because right now, like, the biggest, I don't want to say problem because that just has such a negative vibe to it or negative connotation to it, but I can't really think of a better word right now. But the biggest problem I'm seeing with the essays being submitted thus far is organization. And organization is so important. If your essays are not organized, if your paragraphs are not organized, your reader is not going to know what you're saying. Okay? And it's hard. It is so hard to just start writing. Like, your thoughts are going to be so jumbled up, like, if you're not following an outline or like a game plan for yourself, because you're just going to kind of write things as they come to you. And that's totally fine. Like, for a first draft, that's maybe just for you. But even when you're submitting a first draft to me, it can be hard for me to give feedback if your essay is not like well organized. Okay? So I highly recommend outlining your essays before you actually sit down and start writing. Okay? So let's jump into it. So the 3 types of outlines I'm going to talk about today are informal outlines, a formal outline, and a reverse outline. Again, these are just like suggestions. You can do an informal outline, but maybe do it in a way that's a little bit different from what I'm showing you today. So these are just like ideas and some tips and tricks to help you with writing your essay, okay? Like, again, just outline in a way that feels natural to you, okay? You don't have to call it a certain type of outline, okay? You don't have to say to yourself, oh, I'm going to write an informal outline or a formal outline or a reverse outline. You can just sit down and sketch out the skeleton of your essay. So an informal outline is really useful for you in the early stages of the writing process. So this informal outlines are essentially bullet points. Like, if we want to talk about like the penny debate essay, you could just write like, okay, my bullet point introductory sentence, or bullet point topic sentence, bullet point supporting sentence. Like, you could just do like bullet point support for the penny debate. For your supporting point, you could do like a bullet point supporting point 1, Abraham Lincoln. Or bullet point supporting point 2, charity. Okay, you don't have to like totally like flesh things out. You can just say like, okay, I'm just going to write down 3 bullet points that list the supporting points I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about them in this order. I'm going to make sure I don't start talking about charity until I'm done talking about Abraham Lincoln. Okay? A formal outline. So this is probably, when you hear the word outline or the concept of outlining an essay, your brain probably creates an image of a formal outline. So this is useful when you are ready to sit down and like write your first draft or your rough draft. This is a little bit more detailed than your informal outlines. Like a formal outline, I think would be really useful once you're in like units 4 and up. But what I have here is, I know this is kind of wonky, but I have a picture of what a formal outline kind of looks like, okay? So if you look at like point 4, like number 4 here, like this indicates like what a formal outline looks like. Like you'll have Roman numeral 1, and Roman numeral 1 will be your introductory paragraph, and this is where you will write your hook and your background information and your thesis. But if we want to look at this as like a body paragraph, you would have like Roman numeral 2, and you would write your topic sentence. And let's say your topic sentence is cats are better than dogs because cats are less expensive to take care of. And then you'd have letter A. And you could write trips to the vet, or let's see here. Grooming. It is cheaper to groom a cat to get a cat groomed than it is to get a dog groomed. And then you can maybe have this like supporting detail here where you like delve into that a little bit more. So if you remember our lessons on the meal plan, or about the meal plan, and the lesson on implementing supporting points and details, like so these letters here, A and B, like this would be your evidence, and 1 and 2 would be your analysis, and like the lowercase a and b could be like an even more like in-depth analysis, okay? So it could this could take like any form you want. Like you could have capital A and then point 1 and then a lowercase a. But just like so you know, like this is like your main supporting point. This is where you analyze and explain that evidence in more detail, and this is even more detail, okay? So this kind of gives you like a better idea. So maybe you don't necessarily want to do all this detail right here, and you could do something that looks like this. Like here's paragraph 1, and here's like the 2 points I'm going to be talking about, and then paragraph 2, and these are the 3 supporting points I'll be talking about. But in between these letters, you might want to like break it down a little bit more, go into a little bit more detail. So again, it's really up to you what you would like to do. Or if you want to just do like bullet points instead of letters and numbers, you can do that, where you would just kind of like indent underneath a bullet point in order to indicate like I'm going into more detail about the above point. So reverse outlines, I think, are really, really great. We kind of talked about reverse outlining when talking about thesis statements. So when we talked about thesis statements, I told you like, okay, you have your thesis statement written out, but then break it down. Break it down to like, okay, here's my subject, here's my claim about that subject, and here are my points of support. So basically when you have a reverse outline, you take a draft of your essay that you've already written and you plug it into the structure of a formal outline. So this allows you to check whether or not your argument structure is logical, as well as that your essay has all the required pieces of an essay, like a hook, background information, and a thesis statement in your introduction, and the topic sentence evidence and analysis of that evidence in your body paragraphs. So basically, like let's say you have your second draft and you need to revise your second draft so you can write your final draft. So you could take your second draft and plug it into this formal outline to see if it's doing, if you're doing everything you're supposed to do. Something else you can do in regards to outlining is you could just get the meal plan out. So you could take your body paragraph and say like, pull out a sentence and say, this is the main idea. Pull out a chunk of evidence and say, here's the evidence. And pull out your analysis and say, here's the analysis. Or maybe you're doing that like as a reverse outline and you're like, wait a minute, I don't have any analysis here. And like go back in, as you're revising, you'll insert some analysis of your evidence. So that's really all I have to say about outlining. I'm going to pause the video here so I can take you back to the Moodle site and show you some worksheets that I have if you would like to use them. Okay, so here you'll notice I have some outlining worksheets. So if you click on this, you'll have this document, and it talks more about informal outlines, and if you want to like print it out or like copy this out on a sheet of paper, you can fill it out for your own essays, okay? And maybe answer these questions. Like if maybe you're having a little bit of trouble with an essay, that could be helpful, or you don't need to answer these questions at all. It's just, there if you'd like to use it. And then here with the formal outline, gives you like some more information on how to, well, it's basically the screenshots from the PowerPoint, but if you wanted to like print it out and use it for yourself, you could do that. And then here I also have this like graphic organizer, because graphic organizers are a more like visual way of outlining. So like you might actually find this super helpful as well. Like you have your thesis statement, your topic sentence, and your points of support. And you can make this as detailed as you want. Like maybe you just want to use this as like some bullet points instead, like treat it like an informal outline. So this is like sort of similar to the boxes that you fill out for your first draft of your essays, but I think it's a little bit, it's more interactive, it's more personal. You can treat it as an informal outline, so like doing bullet points and organizing your thoughts, and then you can take this and use it to help you fill out the boxes in the first draft for your essay in more detail. Okay, and then here I have another graphic organizer. This is just another way to help you put together some notes and ideas for you, okay? And then here in Unit 3, you will have to write a personal essay. So, or a personal narrative. So this could help you with that as well. Or there are some other essays that ask you to put together like some personal narrative, but in a more academic way, and like this could help you as well, okay? So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I guess the final thought I want to leave you with outlining is it is a very, just, treat it very personal. Like find a way that works for you and do that. Regardless of how you choose to outline, I do highly, highly recommend before you sit down and start writing your first draft, do like an informal outline like this. Or take these boxes and just like treat it like an informal outline and just kind of like write your working thesis and then kind of like bullet point stuff in here. Okay, I think this will help you stay very organized when writing your essays. Okay, again, if you have any questions, please let me know, and good luck.